All right, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee of the Bridgewater Town Council. I will start by taking any public comments. Any comments from the public? There's also one at the end of the meeting as well, too, just so folks know. Okay. Moving on to C, legislation referred, starting with Order O, F26057, acceptance of grant, Department of Energy Resources Green Communities Division. Open it up for any comments, questions.
I have one question. Is 7,500 enough for a battery for electric car?
No.
So electric car battery is about 20,000?
Well, it's not really it's for an electric vehicle. So a few months ago, as part of the capital plan, appropriated $40-something thousand. I don't know the exact amount in front of me, to buy a new vehicle. We had an accident with one of the current
Is that electric too?
Yeah. So I was just talking about this at the finance committee. So with the 7,500, with the capital appropriation, with the insurance money for the loss of the other vehicle, they should be able to buy a vehicle.
Now, does the police officers use electric vehicles?
They do not.
Hybrids. We have some hybrids.
So they're gas and electric?
Correct.
They like them?
No.
That's what I heard. So I don't know why we continue to buy them.
Well, I
We
think
get grants for them.
But police department's unhappy. The batteries cost like $20,000.
Let me just roll that back just slightly.
They're not.
The ones that we have had, we do not have a lot of them. We have a few of them. The ones that we've had have been not good cars. And sometimes that's a product of luck. There's a variety of reasons for their generally not liking them. They do put up with, I wouldn't say they despise them, it's not like that. But what we have done in the interim is we have gone back to more consistently purchasing gas vehicles. One car in particular we had repeated problems with. Ford cannot figure out what the problem is. And so that probably lends to that. So it's not as simple as, no, they don't like them. There's just a variety of our experiences.
Yeah. Now, when I was looking up the electric, a lot of the police, they have difficulty and you don't want your police officers to trouble with the cars. So I think we should look back and.
the electric vehicles that are used for the town, the inspectors drive it. They don't really go far. They're in the community. We got the electrical inspector, the gas inspector.
Oh, I can see that. But
Yeah.
for the police, I mean,
For the police,
it's a
right,
different story.
they're
guys
gonna
have to go.
they're really using that vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, these ones out here, I think they're about 7 years old.
Yeah.
Almost
How long
8
do they
years old.
last, do you know? They're new, so we don't know yet, huh? Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions on this?
No.
You know when we applied for this?
Last fall.
Last fall.
Thanks.
I'm just curious if it had any connection to the MBTA legislation that we passed, or because we were compliant, or we wouldn't know any of that, right? That didn't come in the letter. I read
The
that.
energy, green communities.
Yeah, I'm chair of the Energy Committee involved with this. The state Green Communities has a grant cycle that specific dates. They have twice a year that you can apply for grants. You can only apply once you've spent the money from the previous that you got. And we've had over $1 million of green community money.
Okay. Motion to accept.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to recommend to the council to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
0. Okay, moving on to order O FY26058 Bridgewater Police Relief Association Collective Bargaining Agreement. There'll be two back-to-back, one for the agreement, one for the transfer. We'll start with the agreement. We talked at length about this last week, so I don't know
Yeah,
if anybody has anything additional there.
no, if both sides are happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm excited about the COLA increase is reasonable and everything else seems pretty reasonable. Obviously, some of the other things are less in our control, which is the cost of the health insurance increasing. I didn't get a chance to look at the split, but where are we at currently with this contract of of the shared,
So
split.
we're 80-20 and this renegotiated for new hires will be 75-25.
Okay. That's good. More of a general statement, but I think that the town in our efforts, with all employees, we need to start working towards a 70-30 if at all possible. I know that 80-20 is an improvement, but you know, if we're looking at the schools and the towns, the benefits side is just increasing at a rate that's not sustainable. So just more of a general comment, but it seems that we are moving in the right direction there. And then looking at the budget packet, what's the overall increase to basically fund the police next year, like year over year? Like it's in this budget. I just didn't
Yeah,
get a
I
chance to
did.
flip to it. Yeah.
have it.
Just a note on that too. I noticed there are 3 positions we're not filling with them too, so I know that'll factor into the year over year difference.
Yeah, those cuts are those just positions that are unfilled.
Unfilled,
Friends
3
were-
cadets and,
Yeah.
the cut to the civilian staff hours.
And you still don't have a captain, right?
Yeah, I just want to relate to the committee and you know, to the council and when it comes up that, you know, this process of negotiating with the police took a little over 2 years. I mean, it started off with Mr. Dutton and Miss Williams when they were back there, you know, because we started negotiating two and a half years ago. So we did a lot of, you know, meeting with the police and with along with the chief and Justin and the 2 of us. And it's been a long process, but we really are thankful and grateful to the members of the police association for, you know, when we started off this process, we were at like 2%. We were like in that range. So we've reeled it in a lot. They've been, you know, I'm just happy with the result, and there's a lot of credit to be given to, you know, the chief and Carolyn and Mr. Casanova Davis and of course the association, the members of that negotiating team. Because they were, you know, they came along and knew of the upcoming budgetary implications that was gonna have, and as you can see by the budget coming up before you. You know, we're happy that they were able to come to this settlement. So.
I think Gloria undersold herself and Karen. So there definitely a lot of credit amongst them all to go around, but Lori and Carolyn have been consistent. And I think Justin brought that energy that needed to get over the finish line so that everybody, this is fair for everyone. It's not easy. It's hard for us taking cuts in other places and saying that we think this is fair and appropriate, but I think under all of the circumstances together, I think it's fair. It's not only fair for our personnel, which is very important, but it's fair for the department. I think for the community, it's responsible. There's give and take with anything, but if you look at this on the whole, I think it's fair and it's what they've negotiated. Lori and Carolyn have been the 2 that have been consistent for this town over the last 2 years. So even though you had, you know, Michael for a period of time, and then Blythe, and now Justin, and Justin was able to really work to get over the finish line. Lori and Carolyn have been consistent, and I will say that members of the police union, because you remember, it's not only, you're talking to representatives of the police union, they have their constituency like yourselves in some ways, you know, that are over here, and they have their beliefs about what it should be and what's fair and what's not. So to bring them all together is not easy. I'm grateful that we can get back to business, and this is no longer a distraction for our big personnel.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I was just looking at year over year from last year. 6.6 million last year in police budget, and this year 6.7. So we're a 1.5% increase year over year. So that's a very modest increase considering what we have with limited funds this year.
And one of the reasons that this was brought up in the last meeting is that we were able to. It's one of the reasons that the packets were last minute. We were making sure we had the current police rates in there so that we could have a true number. Obviously, to get our 27 instead of estimates. So, you know, that's why the packets took a little bit longer because we were right up until the last deadline trying to make sure that all the police officers' rates were calculated properly for 25, 26, and the 27. So we wanted to make sure that was updated. Because that was a question in the other, meeting, that how did you estimate this for this year and for next year? So we were able to get that number.
I'm assuming this contract is baked into this budget,
Yes.
assuming that it passes, which I'm sure it will.
And hopefully, yes.
Great. Awesome. Nice, because some people, maybe they think that like the budget's balanced and then we approve this and then the budget will be out of balance, but
Right.
this budget accounts for this
It
contract.
does, correct.
All sounds good to me.
Yeah, me too. Motion to, approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
0. And then, as I mentioned, the next order O FY 26-059, please ratification. This is for the appropriation transfer. So,
This just basically goes hand in hand with this, right?
Yes, it does. So you'll see in the appropriation, fiscal 25 is already closed on that, so the appropriation is coming from another source, the one-time weather stabilization fund, for that retro. And then the current year for fiscal 26, the 135,000 is coming from that wage adjustment line that we had built into the fiscal 26 budget to make these appropriations for the current year.
Is the balance in those accounts going to be sustainable for what we anticipate having to deal with fire contract and any other collective bargaining agreements that we have?
Yeah, so it's just fire now,
Mhm.
with this appropriation, and then you'll see the one next that funds the other settled contracts. The only outstanding funding will be for the fire. It's an arbitration.
All right, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Okay, moving on to order O FY 26-060. This is for the wage adjustment budget transfers. And for the quick overview.
Yeah, so, again, this appropriation is for the agreements that you already approved. We didn't, I think we funded the prior year when we did the. I'm trying to think. We must have funded the fiscal 25 when we settled those. And we knew we had the before this budget. Anyway, we never moved the money to cover the current budget from the wage adjustment account that we had into 26. So this just moves it all into the departments of the settled, of the other settled contracts and the non-union.
So under the town clerk department, this is for support staff, not our actual town clerk.
Correct.
I noticed the USW there. Okay.
Yep, the total amount of employees, I think, is 48 that are in the whole appropriation. So,
This is a wage adjustment.
yeah, so when we did the 26 budget,
Mhm.
we didn't factor in the increase in their settlement. We just put it in a line item, so, because we hadn't settled them. But I think in June of last year, we settled. We didn't move the money because we hadn't done all the retros yet, so this is just moving all of the funds into the correct departments
That we agreed to last
that
year.
we agreed to.
Okay.
Nothing further from me.
A motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
0. Okay, moving on to order O FY 26-061, town clerk's salary. I think I explained at the meeting last week. I took last year's town clerk salary and it was based off a 40-hour week. And I set that at 35 in line for what we see from similar employees adjustments. So that's how I came to the number of 79,297, just for folks that are aware.
And that's what did you do a 12%, 13%?
I didn't do percent. I just simply subtracted the hours to 35 and I did that at her same rate.
Oh, I see.
I think with the 1.5 code or the 1 and 1.
Yes, the full remain the same. Sorry.
Could you explain the stipends that they get for voting or whatever they get? I can't remember from last year. Someone asked me tonight. Just
I did, you can, you and I talked earlier today, and I talked with Tina actually. She had mentioned she gets a $950 stipend that's related to the registrar portion of her role, and that's
Okay.
just once annually that she gets that.
and there's nothing with the hours for voting or anything like that.
No, but there is reimbursement from the state for any additional hours that go over for early voting, especially for supporting town clerk staff and that, but that goes back to the town, not to the employees.
Okay.
So it's just the $950 that she actually receives.
Okay.
So is there an opportunity for us to charge overtime for early voting and to take that amount and then to fund the department so that we could, compensate the town clerk for a lesser adjustment?
Well, it's a great question. Usually the reimbursements are for the prior years. It's similar to, so the veterans budget, for example, we had a 75% reimbursement of our budget or what we pay, not of our budget, of what we pay to the vets. So we might appropriate $75,000 this year based on how many payments, ordinary and medical benefits that we pay to our vets. Based on all their qualifications that our veteran agent does. And so he fills out monthly reports to the state. They calculate the approved cost of 75% reimbursement. And then once that gets approved, we're like 2 years behind in getting our approval. So it's kind of similar to that the assessors too does the reimbursements for the motor vehicle abatements, the real estate exemptions and abatements that are reimbursed by the state. We fill out all the documents and we get them usually a year or so later. So this is a similar reimbursement that the state started doing after COVID, when the town clerks and the voting turned into more of a mail-in early voting absentee. It was to help with the postage and the additional costs and put upon the clerk. So to fund the department with the reimbursement, you guys would have to enact legislation to accept that payment, to put it in another fund to use for a special purpose. With other general fund reimbursements, it just goes back into the, appropriate, we spend, and then later it might get a reimbursement, but we don't know how much or if the state will have that in their budget to reimburse us. So, it's not any money that we can always count on, it's not any different than, like I said, from the veteran services or.
So the only time it will take effect, like, the town hall is gonna be closed on Fridays. So it will only be the November election. And then we would have to give that department a day off. Right?
Well, honestly, with, other departments being cut and some having to have to go to a meeting or to other
Okay.
events or things, how other departments and department heads do, they flex the time. So,
They could take the time off, because I mean, the voting is a long day. It's not like a
absolutely.
meeting,
Yeah, and it always has been. I think,
Okay,
the town clerk doesn't have any standard hours, like they're elected, they can work 5 hours a week or they can work
oh,
a
okay,
lot. I mean, they're, we paid them like everyone else, 35, 40, whatever. I think it used to be 35.
It did until recently we bumped it.
Yeah, and then it was up to 40 like everyone else. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, I see that, they can take time off to
yeah,
equal out the time they spent at the election, that makes sense.
yeah.
Thank you.
Or any kind of event or.
Yeah,
off
that's the
time.
long one,
Long one, a
Yeah.
very long one.
all right.
Because our town clerk doesn't take health insurance, right?
She does not.
Yeah,
I've spoken to
Nope.
her about that.
yep.
So that's a fairly significant cost savings to us for her not to carry that.
There are a lot of other employees that don't take
I
it
was
as
gonna say,
well.
how do we comb through, library employees who may take their spouse's insurance free?
Yeah. No, it's just, I think we need to look at it, the whole picture. I could appreciate the spirit of making even cuts across the board, but I think that we need to look at every position in its individual nature. And I think that the town clerk's department is also a generating department of revenue as well. I was looking at some dog license numbers from a few years ago, and where'd they go?
Yeah, but you
Anyway.
have to look at every department, building department, the police department, they all bring in money for us, you know what I mean?
Well, not every department's income generating, but some of them are. But I think that there's like, you could draw a very clear line between, the attempt to, I'm just gonna use dog licenses as an example, a very clear line between the efforts to obtain those monies. So in 2024, it was 29,000. And at 2026, it's at 43,000. So it's a $14,000 increase, and I feel like that's a direct result of the effort that was made.
Well, wouldn't you say that's like a campaign slogan? Shouldn't she go out campaign with that?
Yeah, maybe.
She's doing her job, right?
Yeah,
I know, but the other two clerks work there too, and so then we shouldn't cut them because they're working at the clerk office.
Well, if
too.
you're cutting those hours, you're going to place more workload on our town clerk.
The town clerk is not gonna be working here by herself on Fridays.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Well, that would be her choice.
Yeah, that would be.
Because it's gonna be closed.
Yeah, if the work needs to be done, it's going to get done, and that's going to be for all departments. I'm just saying that we should consider the fact that this individual does not take health insurance, so there's not going to be a 10% increase year over year. It is an income generating position, and we need to take into account that there is a state election in the fall. There's a number of ballot questions on there, which is going to be difficult to navigate, and there's an opportunity for state reimbursement. So I would just consider, I think that we should take all that into consideration.
I think if I had to take that consideration, it would be the building inspector. I think he generates the most. He's already overworked by himself, and then we're gonna take hours away from him.
Mhm.
So I would have to, I mean, I looked at all of them like you did, and you feel bad because this is gonna hurt everyone.
Yeah.
But I mean, you already look at the building inspector. I mean, he's so overworked.
Yeah, well, when we get to the budget later, I would
But I can't pick
make a
and choose.
case to
You know what I mean?
try to move some money around so we could hire somebody
But
part-time.
we're trying to get a grant from that, but
Yeah.
I mean, as money wise, I don't think we can do that because it's too difficult.
Mhm.
Everyone has something that they contribute, and I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that road.
Mhm.
You have a suggestion on that?
Like a dollar amount. Personally, I would prefer to keep this at Budget and Finance Committee, because when do we have to approve this?
Whenever your public hearing is.
So we've got another 2 weeks or so. So personally, I would just, motion to continue this, just because I think that we have a lot of moving pieces with the budget, and maybe there's an opportunity to, instead of make a flat 12% or whatever it is, the 5-hour reduction, maybe it's a little more nuanced than that. So I think that we should kind of keep this with the entire budget. So that'd be my proposal.
I'll just say that I think if we were to maybe find isn't the right word, but find any extra money that would go towards this, this probably wouldn't be in the top priority for me to allocate the money to. And so
That's fair.
I see no reason to keep it here, but knowing that, I don't think it's going to change for me either. So if it stays here or not.
And it's not gonna change for me.
Well, I'll make a motion to continue, and if you guys want to say no, that's fine, and we could refer it back.
No,
But there's no second, so that's all right. So if you guys want to make a motion to refer back as it stands, that's obviously up to you guys.
Yeah.
I will vote no as it stands, only because I think it should be, in my opinion, higher than that. I just don't know that number yet because we haven't worked through all the other parts of the budget.
Yeah. I would motion to send back. I think it's going to be tough across the board. And I think this is just one case of, we heard from a gentleman from the rec department right shortly after we discussed this at the meeting, and he's in a similar predicament where he was asking money to go back to his revolving funds to fund those employees. And I think it's going to be really tough across the board. And so for me, I'm trying to stay fair and even. And
well, I went to the senior center, and Kathy, who does all the outreach, and not even for the seniors, but anyone that's struggling, low income or anything like that, she's at 35. They're gonna bring her down to 30. So if there's anyone that maybe she doesn't bring the money in, but serves the residents and in the seniors. I would up hers and keep her hours up there if I had a choice.
Mhm.
So that's not what I mean, it's difficult.
Yeah, I think this would be good for the full council to weigh into, because I'm
Yeah.
sure there's gonna be a lot of input on this, so,
Yeah. It's
so
not
I'll
gonna
make the
be-
motion to
I'll
refer
second
that.
it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
How about now?
Okay.
Judy, what's the vote? Are you recommending or just referring
Yeah,
back
we're recommending to send it back to the council.
as
with
written?
positive recommendation.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to budget order O FY 27-001, FY 27 annual town budget. Not sure where you all want to start with this one, but
You want to start, Lori?
I can just, thank you. I can just speak to that it was a difficult process this year. And, I know you're gonna have a couple meetings to, digest and look through. There's a lot of information. You look through Justin's budget message. It was a lot of difficult. We didn't fill anything that was vacated or that was vacant. There's a couple layoffs in here, eliminating positions. We went through the cuts of all the staff, like 5 hours across the board, except for police and fire and AFSMI. AFSMI is water, sewer, and highway guys. So yeah, it was a very difficult decision, especially with all the reduced contracts and the reduced COLAs that we negotiated. The difference in the salaries is from last year or from this year to next year is $607,000 that we cut. We also went into the expenditure budgets and we cut a lot of needed expenses and if you looked at Justin's presentation, most of the budget is the salaries and the expenses are like maybe less than 2%. But we did really hit some of those hard. I mean, departments like police and fire, they only, their budget might be $150,000, but we had to. We didn't have a methodology of cutting more by like 5 or 10%. We individually, worked with the department leaders and a lot of it is meeting expenses and things like that we just had to remove, even though the education and certification of a lot of employees is very important to us. But office supplies and things like that, I just cut down to, pretty minimal. So, it's a very tough process to keep cutting down. Like, we would go through the budget, cut it a little, every day we were looking at different things and hoping that we didn't have to come back to certain things that we actually did. So, we did come to that 1.2 million, the last delta that we had to close. So, 607,000 was all employee hours.
I will say one thing we talked about today is I noticed the local receipts were up 7.4%, which seems extremely high, but there's been a trend of especially the motor vehicle tax going up. And so I think that makes sense, but it's obviously something that I think the council should be very aware of moving through fiscal year 27 and something to keep an eye on, because if that starts fluctuating, then we're going to have to make more tough decisions here.
Yeah, if the general economy affects people's,
Right.
purchasing of vehicles, that's going to be a major problem. So that's something we need to keep an eye on. And I noticed that investment income is quite large. So is that going to be reliable? It seems like it will be, but I know that people have kind of expressed some concern about you have $300,000 in investment income last year, 425. Do you know what is the 300 that was budgeted last year? Do you know what the actual is or projected to finish with this year?
But yeah, I mean, we looked at that. I mean, we looked at everything very closely. And the investment income we've been very conservative with. And we actually didn't, we moved it up because we've been putting some money away. So, we're able to invest it and make a good return on investment there. So. You're on the wrong paper.
So the fire department won't have overtime anymore?
So inside the budget, we replaced, the vacant position. That was the only increased position that we added to the budget.
I mean, there were what, under 4 employees, short 4 employees? That's why we did overtime, because they need 200.
They were short, they were down 2 and then they hired 1.
Okay.
We left 1 vacant, so they wanted the overtime. So we talked with the chief, and said if we put 1 in, we didn't on the whole position, we said maybe start in January, we're gonna have to reduce your overtime. And you're gonna have to manage the time off requests and things of that nature that may cause a little bit more overtime. I mean, emergencies and things like that, you gotta call them in.
So he gets the new employee, what, in July? They start hiring in July?
Nope, so this new employee is funded starting with January.
Is that the same
1st.
thing with the police captain? They won't get one until July?
Yes.
Or,
Or
I mean,
January, half a year, so that's 6 months in. Now, if things happen, like say someone leaves, or someone resigns or someone.
Well, they already have the money in the budget for
If
that.
there's money in the budget for that and you have a half thing, then you go out and get that replacement
Yeah.
sooner maybe, but
So I know we heard from the library and the school. Last year we heard from both chiefs how this budget's gonna impact them. Are they gonna come in, give us an idea how this is gonna impact their departments?
yeah, that's why the chief is here tonight. We have the police chief here tonight, and I think Justin's told everyone that we want the departments to speak and give you guys their from their voice and how they see. I mean, I can let the chief talk right now and not that, but he can speak.
Well, it might be
right
good
now
for
in a
in front of
general.
the, in front of the whole council.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I have one more question. When did we put on add South Shore Vocational Tech School to our schools?
Because so when.
Is that because the lottery?
No, when a student moves or is, they have to make a request through our school district to go to another school, and they have to show that the studies or agricultural, whatever the interests that they have are in this particular school that they want to go to or not. And we did get that request, and it does get sent to DESE to be approved for vocational. So they approved it, so.
And does Desi help us with transportation? Because that's in what, Hanover?
No, they don't.
And we can't say no.
We can't say no.
Wow, so they could be going all over the place.
Yeah.
All right.
If it's approved, yeah, I mean, a lot of our
Approved by
school.
Desi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
I mean, I don't mind proving, but they should.
Yeah, one of the
Give us
good
the
news
request.
that's coming out of the state is the regional out of district transportation the town has in the last, I think, 4, maybe 5 years now, had to fund the transportation for the out of district schools, Bristol Aggie, Norfolk Aggie, and I'll get this one.
Well, we share with Raynham, right?
Yeah, so the Bristol Aggie, they had enough room on the
Yeah.
bus, so the school district had a bus that sent the Bridgewater kids to the Raynham stop,
Yeah.
and then they went from Raynham to Bristol Aggie, but their enrollment in Raynham went up, so we had to find our own bus,
Yeah.
and that ended up costing like $220,000, which was the real budget buster. But the good news with this, the state is we would get reimbursement like 4% before for being out of district. So if we spent $400,000, we got like $4,000. But we're hearing that they're funding that in 2027.
Okay.
And, kind of like the school district they say, oh, we're gonna fund it 100%. So if we get 70 or 80 or anything, we'll be grateful for that.
Yeah,
But
Oh.
they're saying that we're gonna get it, so that will be helpful.
thank you.
That's something that comes back to us in the next year, and that just gets. We don't.
Well,
count
it's
for it.
for a lot of kids, so hopefully, it gets advertised for more than just one kid goes then.
For me, I think we're gonna obviously keep this here for a few weeks. But something that I want to throw in front of everybody to consider, and this would be a better question for Justin and even the council to kind of talk about, directing our IT department towards having some third-party support. I asked that of the gentleman that came by that did the Collins Center review, and I did some research at other communities of similar size, and some smaller, some larger. And some municipalities, they run their entire IT department from a third party. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what we should do, but it's something that we should consider. Obviously, you save on the benefits and you're providing a really great service. So I think there's an opportunity to look at some ways that we could improve efficiencies there. And I think secondarily to that, it would be a potential cost savings depending upon how it's set up. We're not going to cut our way out of this hole, but I think there's an opportunity to move some dollars around if the council is open to it, and if Justin is able to talk with some firms that could provide that support. The city of Leominster is much bigger than us, and they run their entire IT department with a third party, and their total budget I think is below $200,000 a year.
Can I ask a question, John? So if you do that, does it have to be on the cloud?
No, you can maintain your own servers. You can maintain your own servers.
Can
It would be.
Connect with the police and the fire?
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't know, I remember there's something that, why we didn't do it for the year 2024 or something, it was something.
Yeah, you can maintain all of your own servers, and the third party at IT can manage everything on the town side and police and fire.
And the outside one, does it on the cloud?
They could transition the town to that if you'd like to do that.
No, because.
That would be like a
because I'm-
long-term planning thing.
No, because if your internet goes down, you can't get into the cloud. I was remembering something like that because someone brought it up when I think I was first counselor.
Yeah.
And between the fire and the police and being in the cloud, you couldn't get on. It didn't go through.
Yeah, so third-party IT could operate either with cloud services or with local servers.
Yeah,
So
There
you
was
could do it
something.
both ways.
yeah.
Yeah, you could do it both
I'll have
ways.
to look it up. I remember there was like something.
Yeah, at the very least, if we're interested, we could ask Justin to do some research and see if it's something that we can implement. I know that's something that can launch within 30 to 45 days if it's something that we want to do.
Just gonna ask, do you think it's something we could do in time for this?
Yeah.
Do you know anybody, John?
I've called a few companies. I could give you some information on that.
Then we would,
So you
Leave-
called the companies, but have you talked to the staff? I mean, does it work?
The staff at the other municipalities. No, I feel like that wasn't my lane.
Yeah, okay, well,
That
we'll
also
do
is
that,
not really
but
my
I can
lane.
just
Is
tell you
reaching
that-
out. It's more operational, but
Sure.
the town council, we appropriate funds and
Absolutely.
we decide what direction we want to take and what we think is prudent and fiscally responsible. I think it's something that we should look at. It's a potential efficiency improvement as well, because we saw that tripling of ticket items over the last few years. That's something that could easily be handled by a low-ranking staff member at a third party. And we're, like I said, we mentioned benefits already, but 10% year over year, that's money that's going to, employees that will not be realized by a third party. So I think it's something that we should consider. Obviously, we're not going to be closing any gaps with that. I would love to be able to find ways that we can, find efficiencies like that and allocate money towards the schools. That's obviously not going to happen, but it's a way that we can maybe move a few dollars around here and there. That's one thought. And then another thought, again, is going to be, for Justin, we're not going to be doing much development anytime soon, considering our infrastructure. I know that we're losing somebody in the CED department with this proposed budget. I'm just curious if it's possible to, run that department with a single individual. Again, we're not looking to make any sort of administrative movements on the town council side, but again, maybe it would be prudent to allocate less funding towards that department if we're not going to be doing very much development in the next year. So it's something that I want to throw out there that everybody should think about.
Can I ask a question on the IT?
Yeah.
If it's your appropriate time. I would just say this on the police side, and I suspect the fire would say the same thing.
Mhm.
I will tell you on demands, I have no idea what private companies charge. I don't know where that, where the delta is between what you're trying to say and what you get to. I don't know. What I could vote for is, I can tell you, we place a lot of demands in the IT. And the reason we place a lot of demands is not only our in-house computer systems, our portable computer systems, our in-car
Mhm.
computer systems. They're liaison and they do all the work. So we don't actually have to pay for certain services like AOT for our video
Yeah.
technology. That's a big expense we don't pay for. They manage it and administer it and solve problems with that. They're our liaison 911, our recording system. So there's actually a lot of things I will say that we as a police department, we delegate to IT that I think in some departments are absorbed by police personnel assuming some of those roles. So I just throw it out there when the time comes to evaluate it, is I hope we have a chance to, give you the full panoply of all those IT components that we have come to expect from our IT people when that transition will happen. That we're talking apples to apples. That's the only thing I would ask, because I know personally I can vouch for. I put a lot of demands on Brad and James and even David for that matter. And we don't have patience for it. So when the computers, when the camera system is out, I'm not waiting around until Monday morning. And there are a lot of times they're doing it from home. And I know third parties can do that as well. I don't know how they charge and what the figure is, but I have to be honest, and I place a lot of demands on them. So when something's broken, I say fix it.
Mhm.
I don't care what time it is. I don't care. You're logging in from it's after hours and whatever, and they are always have been very responsive to us. My suspicion is fire would say the same thing. I don't know if the demands are the same necessarily in highway, water, and sewer and so forth, but I can tell you, especially police, we have them in all our cars. We have a lot of computers, and that's only one component. They've assumed roles in these other aspects as well, and I hope it's just we consider all of that. That's
Yeah, that's a great point. I can't speak to the technical specifics. I know that this one company I spoke to, they have a relationship and a contract with the Boston Police Department, so they're pretty well versed, and it's all great points. And I think if we're going to do something like this, all the departments need to come together and make sure it's going to work. So yeah, that sounds good. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was you talking about last?
We're up against it with time, just to let the folks know we have
Yeah.
10 minutes. So
Oh, the CDC director?
What's that?
Are you talking about not filling the CDC director?
Oh, I was saying reducing appropriations to that department in general, if there's an opportunity to run it with a single individual as opposed to.
I think that would be asking a lot of them, and I know there's a lot of development coming up once we get the water online, so I would be against that,
Okay.
just my opinion.
Trying to think of how we do this. If we just continue all the items here.
Yeah, we could
Thank you. folks.
continue on all of these.
Any last thoughts?
Just the last three?
Debbie, can I just vote to continue legislation? Should be able to, right? That whole section.
Yeah, I don't know if you need to take it individually or if we don't.
You would have to vote to take them all together and then vote to continue them all.
Yeah, we'll just vote to continue them all.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue items F,
F through J.
G, H, I, and J
I'll second.
to our next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll skip to D, public comment. If there are any comments from the public before we leave. Okay. Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Do you have your hand up?
Oh.
Councilor Ellenberg had her hand up, I believe.
Oh, did you?
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say with the CED, I would hope that we would consider maybe some funds going to library and council on aging. Those two in particular, because they interact with the public.
Mm.
They interface with the public. And so I know we're talking internal with all the departments. That's really outreach to the public, those two.
And I would echo those comments as well. I think those departments have different needs. I'm not a big fan of across the board. You know, everybody gets these hours, and I did want to agree with Council President Loretti on the town clerk, because I think, like I said at the meeting last week, that elections, the town clerk doesn't get anything extra, and taking off another day, there's a lot of work that goes in that. I know what you're trying to do, Paul. I think it's admirable. I just wish we could do something, because there's, town election, primary, general elections, 3 elections, and I think it's a lot of work, and the employees in the office get compensated. The clerk really doesn't. I know the clerk has a salary, but I just think it should be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Any other comments?
And I would echo about the town clerk, that's all.
Okay. Already had a motion.
Yeah, we had a motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah, aye.
3-0. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Well,